West Tigers faithful, episode number 010. We made double figures. I'm Jared Reedman Reedie, and with me is my good friend Joe McCord. Mate, double figures. We're out of the woods. How are you feeling?
Man, I'm just worried the fame might get to my head. Look at this. Look at the upgrade every week. It's like getting closer to being a Hollywood level production.
Speaking of, where are you reporting from today, mate? And who is this episode powered by today?
Yes, I'm back in the Pinch studio after last week. Last week I was down at the Adelaide Hilton. On behalf of Pinch, in case it's not obvious, I work for Pinch. But yeah, back in the studio today, powered by Pinch Payments. Pinch Payments, Xero's top-rated payments app, specializing in helping small businesses that are always chasing up those pesky invoice payers that make you chase and pay you late. Do it in a different way, do it in a better way. So if anybody out there runs a small business that could use a little bit of a helping hand getting on top of their aged receivables, hit us up.
Very nice. Further to that, mate, I want to say to everybody, the outpouring of support and the messages we get and the replies on the forums and in the Discord server and everything like that, I'm just so thankful, and I know you are too. There is one thing that I've never asked our audience to do, but I would appreciate if they did. If you follow us on Spotify, hit the bell for notifications, do the same on Apple, like, subscribe, and hit the bell on YouTube. Just build all those things up. You can get the episodes as quickly as possible. It helps us with our algorithm. We can reach more people, more like-minded West Tigers fans, overly optimistic West Tigers fans, and we can keep this ball rolling, I suppose. But with that, mate, I want to just
One thing.
Go on.
One thing. We did launch our Instagram and Facebook this week as well. So if you are on Facebook, which most people are, if you are on Instagram, which most people are, we're now on there. So we're posting up podcast clips and stuff to there. Who knows where that goes? But yes, if your preferred channel is those social media institutions run by Captain Zuckerberg, then we've got that covered now too.
I hear that, and yes, again, that all of that stuff helps us, and it helps you guys engage with us. We love hearing from you guys. We're just two armchair experts that don't know much about this great game, and we're very, very biased. So to get some different opinions would be great. West Tigers news cycle. Breaking news today that apparently the world famous Adam Doueihi is being looked at by the St. George Illawarra Dragons as a replacement for Ben Hunt should he leave. I think he will. I dropped this on you in the green room, Mac. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. Like Reedie just mentioned it like 10 seconds before we started recording, and I was like, oh, save it. I hope so. What a weird move that would be for the Dragons. So Ben Hunt to Adam Doueihi.
Very weird. What I will say is that I think that the club wouldn't stand in Adam's way if he was given the opportunity to play first grade in his preferred position. I think that right now he's probably going to be playing State Cup inside Latu Fino at halfback for the Magpies. I'll just read you a little bit of what Michael Chamis has wrote. So the Dragons are willing to entertain the idea of Doueihi joining the club immediately if the Tigers are willing to release him. The Tigers have not been able to move on a number of players in their roster, and Doueihi could be that man. He's on a deal worth $350K at the Tigers next year. So this has all come about in the wake of Ben Hunt sort of being given permission to test the waters elsewhere before November 1. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. What I will say is that I don't think this is a deal that's anywhere near done. I think that there's a couple of clubs that might offer up potentially a playmaker that they can utilise. Or a spine player. You know, obviously everybody knows that they're after Clint Gutherson. You know, Clint might play 5'8", and then they sort of swap a team for a fullback or something. But look, at the same time, we need roster spots. Everybody knows that. Adam would have been a solid halfback for us in reserve grade, but I think that, you know, similar to what we will speak about today, while he does have upside, if there's an opportunity for him to play first grade in the halves, I don't think the club will stand in his way. Do you agree?
Oh, I agree. if you told me last week that the Dragons were going to be looking at moving Ben Hunt on and the Tigers half would be going back the other way, you'd think that the logical person would have been Sullivan, wouldn't you? I'm
Yeah.
surprised.
At the same time, though, I think Flanagan doesn't rate him. I think once he...
I'm surprised he rates Doueihi.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously something there he sees. Adam's a little bit more of the finished product. He's a little bit more structured. But again, I see where you're coming from. But look, well, this is just one that'll probably play out over the next couple of days and weeks. And again, I think the Tigers are granting his release if he were to pursue it. But there's a lot of moving parts here. And I think the Dragons will be trying to swap for a quality player should they let their best player go. Moving on, the Tigers had their awards night on Friday. A lot of us were anticipating a departures list. The departures list was pretty underwhelming. There was no real surprises on it. Solomon Alamalu was confirmed to be leaving, so he'll be in the outgoings part of the categorization of these outside backs. Interestingly, there was nothing on Sione Fainu or Solomon Afar-Tape, so I'm assuming that they will be kept. There was no mention of the train and trialists. So Declan Casey and Ruben Porter and the like. That might mean that Ruben's staying around or Declan's staying around. I guess we'll see. I've actually got Declan in the departures category here, but we'll worry about that later. But most tellingly, there's no confirmation around the likes of Sullivan, Bateman, and Naden, who were rumoured to be shopping about. So as a result, that's pretty disappointing. I'm sure you feel a similar level of disappointment, Mac.
Yeah, I like you assume that there's still stuff that needs to happen. They're under contract. They obviously haven't been officially moved on. So that doesn't mean they won't be.
Yeah, of course.
But it certainly means they haven't been. I was surprised to see Solomon Afar-Tape not on the list of names because he doesn't have a contract as far as I'm aware next year. I think he may have been upgraded to top 30 for this year on a 1-year deal. No talk of him being part of top 30 next year, and we're obviously short on spots, but not named. Curious what the go is there. Maybe a dev contract, maybe I doubt he's going to be on a train and trial deal. You'd have to think minimum dev contract, maybe potentially upgrade. Feels to me like the Tigers may, in their back pocket, have more than 30 players on contract next year already. It feels like they might have a couple of players that they've already sort of signed because they signed Bird. As you said, Sione Fainu hasn't been moved on. He was in the top 30. Fatape hasn't been moved on. He was in the top 30. Yeah, maybe in their top drawer they have more than 30 contracts, and then they're trying to figure out which ones they can tear up.
Well, by my count, it's at 31 if you include Brandon Tumeth, who wasn't announced as a departure, taking up his option. So, yes, there is going to need to be some sort of floor clearing. There is a couple of development contracts left. It's whether or not Solomon would take one. But at the same time, they might come with a promise of a top 30 deal later down the line. But I think you're right. I think it's reached a point where, we're going to have to try and shop a couple of the names that we mentioned. But similar to what Parramatta encountered a few months ago under Jason Riles, there might be some players that we might not necessarily want to get rid of now, but we might have to because they're saleable assets, similar to what they did with Campbell Gillard. I'm not going to sit here and play fantasy football and tell you which ones I think we should move on, but that's another thing that might, come into calculations. In addition, last year, Brandon Webster Mansfield and Tristan Riley were resold on day one of preseason and were paid out. So it wouldn't surprise me if come early November, which is coming around very quickly, that we get similar news around some of those players, not the ones on bigger contracts, but your Solomon Sakurus and your Josh Felladys and the like.
Yeah, I think you're right. Those two probably wouldn't struggle to find a top 30 deal somewhere else because they've got potential. They've got very low risk contracts for another club to take on. I think I heard a rumor that Tumeth might actually be gone. That just may not have been made official yet, but I think that was a pretty good source that Tumeth may be going to. Was it Newcastle? I heard the rumor might be.
There's one of our good friends, Eternal Tiger, did mention something along the lines of Tumeth potentially being on his way out. But look, at this point, mate, he hasn't been announced as a departure. So right now you have to count him as a West Tigers player. Somebody who won't be a West Tigers player, just quickly, Marcelo Montoya, who was linked with us about a month ago, has signed with the Canterbury Bulldogs, so he's going back there. I still think that we need to recruit a left winger. I think, and we'll get to, the conversation about the backs in a little bit, but I don't think
we know who it's going to be, Reedie. We know who it's going to be. He's coming. He's coming. Bizarre.
That would be amazing. Look, in regards to the Tyler stuff, I mean, look, there's a lot of smoke around it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know whether or not I believe it, but look, I think that Penrith will be doing their end of season reviews around now. And if Ayub wants to get in that meeting and say, look, he's bored and he wants to go something different. He's bored.
No, he wants more money, bro. He wants more money. He's on a long-term contract with Penrith and he's like about $200K underpaid.
Well, there's that too. He's also running out of rings to put fingers on. Fingers to put rings on. So, mate, we'll see. I would love to revel in your optimism, but this is I just can't see Penrith letting him go. But we'll see. In saying that, I think we need to go and sign somebody. Who that is, I'm not too sure. All right, let's get into what we are going to review today, and that is the backs. Now, we're going to split this up into 2 episodes again, like the Harry Potter franchise with the last movie, just to maximize a little bit more profit, or in this instance, engagement. We're going to split it up. So we'll have first one out Wednesday night, second one Friday. We are going to do the outgoings and the rookies today. We'll do the current players. So that's like your Stafford Tollers, your Adam Doueihi, even though he might be an outgoing by this time Friday, Brent Naden and so forth. We'll do those then. So, again, 3 categories. We run stats to start and opinions to follow afterwards. And as always, we don't spend much time on those leaving because there's no point. So with that, let's kick off. All right, Declan Casey. This should take about 45 seconds. 1 game, no tries, 6 runs for 33 metres, no line breaks, no tackle breaks, no offloads, a tackle efficiency percentage of 84%, 1 try cause, 2 line break causes, 3 errors, no penalties. Look, Declan's a really, really professional character. By all reports, he was name dropped by Aaron Payne as being a professional character and a good guy to have around the dressing room in State Cup. I really feel for the fella because he is quick and does present as a reasonable rugby league footballer. But when it just comes to first grade, he's just cursed, and he just can't ever put it together. What do you reckon, Mac?
No, you summed it up, bro. I got nothing to add to that. I think we already spoke about. I think we were actually doing the podcast after his debut, and that was what we said at the time. Like he's the sort of bloke you're watching a State Cup and you think, yeah, he'll do an okay job, solid. He'll come up to first grade to be fine. But this is the second time now that he's been given a shot, and nothing else to say aside from he just doesn't seem like he. It seems like that under the proper bright lights, he becomes a different player. Like he's a park footy player by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Look, I think that somewhere at a good club or at a reasonable club, I think he's a good, top 30, like number 30 on your top 30. But look, in a side like ours, unfortunately for Declan, it just didn't work out. And whatever is in his future, I hope he can put it together in first grade elsewhere. Solomon Alomalo, 8 games, 2 tries, 2 try assists. So a try involvement once every 2 games. 12 runs for 95 metres was his average. I don't have an average run metres for you here. I'll work that out in a sec. 3 line breaks, 11 tackle breaks, no offloads. He had a tackle efficiency percentage of 62%. He had 9 try causes in 8 games, 11 line break causes in 8 games, and 5 errors. Look, first and foremost, I wouldn't really look at the defensive stats too much. The guys inside him, at back row and centre, weren't sort of organising and marshalling the line the best that they could. Also with union converts, they take a little while to sort of adjust to making reads and so forth. But look, he's got a touch of class. He reminded me a little bit of Kemba Marlaw, but a little bit slighter in frame. I think there was clear talent there, but unfortunately for Sol, I just think he's just come to rugby league about 4 or 5 years too late. And as a result, and coming to a club like ours, it was just never going to work out. He's another guy that I genuinely wish well. He didn't necessarily have stinkers. There's something about him, but again, I just think he came to the NRL 5 years too late. What do you think?
Yeah, I like him. I think in a different season, we may have seen him get another 1 year. I think he was unfortunately a victim of the fact that we have overstocked on other sort of prospect type players, younger players, and the need to kind of sign better players at the top of our roster squeezes out a lot of these guys at the bottom of the roster. And with only a 1 year contract, he was never really a chance of being retained. I think for a rugby union convert, he actually transitioned really quickly. As you are right, his age plays against him. I didn't feel like that he really looked out of place in first grade much. I actually feel like he would have been particularly good in a second year. Like you look at a guy like Will Warbrick, how much better he was in his second year. He is who he is, though. I think the way he attacks the bomb in defense is really good. I think he's really good under the high ball. He gets into position well to finish backline moves, which is something that some of our other wingers seem to struggle with. Very professional, very polished player, seems a level-headed guy. I'm a little disappointed that we're not able to keep him. I'd much rather have him on the roster than some of these untested juniors, but it is what it is. I hope he stays in the game. I hope he finds another club, maybe the Warriors or even a depth player at a better club or something like that. I think if he does go to another NRL club, he will play first grade this year in a depth role. It'll be like junior Ponga style thing all over again. Good on the bloke. He impressed me, and I hope he stays in the game. I hope he doesn't go back to rugby.
I hope so too. And mate, furthermore, he made his NRL debut, and that's not something that many people can call upon. He won games, he scored tries, and he didn't really let anyone down. So well done, Sol. Good luck in your future endeavours. Last one of the outgoings, Junior Tupou. 8 games, 2 tries, 12 runs on average for an average run meters of 109. That is an average carry of 9 meters. So that's pretty good for our outside backs. 5 line breaks in 8 games and 25 tackle breaks in total. 5 offloads, but a tackle efficiency percentage of 56%. 4 try causes and 5 line break causes in those 8 games. But the biggest stat, 11 errors. I could see him come out of yardage or of kick returns or whatever it may be, and I just have my heart in mouth because the way that he carries the ball is just it causes errors. Look, he's brewing out of yardage, and we missed him when he done his Liz Frank. And there is clear talent there and clear game breaking ability with Junior. And I think we'll miss him depending on what recruiting we do now and between round 1. But at the same time, he's very, very much a rough diamond, so to speak. And while I think that the Dolphins have got a good one, there's a lot to work on. And with guys like Doueihi and Hiamasi Makasini coming through the ranks, while we might miss him in the short term, in the long run, I don't think we will. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I actually get the sense that Tupou might actually be almost at his complete developmental curve. He seems like he might be kind of who he is, which is a good player, but a flawed player because the issues that you touched on there with his handling. He also seems to have I don't know, he does things when he's scoring tries, like he always makes it look harder than it should be, getting the ball down. Those sort of issues, I don't know. I think that might just be who he is. I feel like devastating runner. I don't know how much more development there is left in him. I don't think that he's the same level of prospect as the 2 guys you mentioned. So your appraisal of short-term loss maybe all depends, I suppose, on how big of a preseason Luke Doueihi has. I think, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Luke Doueihi has a crazy season. He's got all the talent in the world. He's been blooded. He had consistent time. So yeah, I don't even know if we will miss him in the short term, depending on how well some of these other guys go. Even Skelton. So yeah, I liked him. But and we definitely missed him this year. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And look, he's another guy that I genuinely wish well. I think he wants to play in the centres, and he's on good money, and we couldn't compete with it. And Christian Wolf obviously knows him from his time in the Tonga setup. Um, I wish him the best, and I think there's a really, really good player there. But as you say, in terms of the errors and being a little bit erratic defensively, there is a chance that that may show through for the remainder of his career. So I guess we'll see. All right. So as you know, we have the rookies that come next. As I said, we'll do current players on Friday. So first off is Josh Folletti. In the NRL, I'll run off his NRL stats and then his stats for the Magpies. So in the NRL, 2 games for 1 try, averaging 9 runs a game for 76 metres with an average carry of 8.4 metres. He had 1 line break in those 2 games and 4 tackle breaks, just a single offload. He had a tackle efficiency percentage of 71%, 2 try causes in 2 games, 1 line break cause and 2 errors. To flip that for the Maggies, he played 20 games. He had 14 tries and 5 try assists, so 19 try involvements in 20 games, which is quite impressive. He was averaging 11 runs a game, so he's quite busy for 94 metres at an average carry of 8.5, 15 line breaks and 53 tackle breaks over the course of the season, 10 offloads and a tackle efficiency percentage of 82%. Unfortunately, I don't have try causes, line break causes or errors. The NRL's stats model doesn't do it for State Cup. Look, these stats tell the story. Josh is a genuine attacking weapon. He's this right place, right time guy. He's amazing off kick chase. He's good with his support play, and he can score tries really, really easily. He does okay out of yardage. He's not terrible. And that's got a lot to do with him being built quite low to the ground, and he doesn't shirk the hard yards. But the biggest issue with Josh has always been the case. It's just defensively, he's not up to scratch from a contact point of view, from a making reads point of view, and if he wants to have the career that a lot of us thought he would have in the NRL when he first sort of hit the scene in 2022, then he has a lot of work to do in the coming pre-seasons to become a player that can, play to NRL standard on both sides of the ball. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he had a good year. I think at our club, somebody being in the top 30 not getting playing time sort of says a fair bit about like how the coaching staff view them. His defensive issues are of the level I would describe as a liability. And when you look at the fact that he wasn't really competing with exactly top tier talent for time, that's an issue. But in saying that, he did look like the best player on the park a lot of the time in New South Wales Cup this year, which is what you want to see from a developing young sort of player of his, especially in his position. It's a very easy position to sort of disappear in, and he never seems to disappear. Like he's always in the game, which is a great trait for a centre. Everything you said about him, I feel the same way. He's a great attacker. Man, he can score tries. He's much quicker than people think he is too. When he gets in the clear, he's very hard to run down. Very good ball movement. Haven't really seen him tested too much under the high ball. Do wonder if he can't fix his defensive issues, that he might be tried as a winger. I don't know. He's obviously not built sort of naturally like one. I did mention earlier in the year that I could potentially see him move into second row, but like as the season progressed past that point, I kind of get the feeling that he might just be that sort of player who has the pedigree and the reputation, but just can't crack first grade because of that issue, but eventually figures it out and then hits first grade like Eero from the Sharks did this year. Like
That's a really good point.
He had all the raps in the world and wasn't getting time. And why is he not getting time? The people clamoring for it. There must have been a reason. And then by the time he's seasoned and ready, hits first grade and has a blinder. What do you think? Like, do you think Do you think Folletti's gonna turn the corner at the Tigers, or do you feel like that he might just need another club to get to that next level?
Great question. Time's running out, mate. Again, like we talk about these youngsters coming through. So obviously Luke Lally and Mussy Makasini, but there's also guys like Tom Goodfield that are going to be banging on the door soon. So he needs to really put it together quickly.
Look, make or break next season.
That's it. By all reports, he was on the nose mid-season, but his application to training won favour with the coaching staff and took him off what I suppose you'd call the transfer list. I think, again, he has amazing right time ability. He knows he's played, in between Sam Weller and Latu coming through the ranks at Manly, so he has good chemistry with those boys. Appy said that his attitude is already befitting of an experienced first grader. It's just defence. And that's what it is. So, look, if he can spend his entire preseason doing extras and working on his contact and making reads, then I think there is definitely an opportunity for him at West Tigers. You can keep other players out of the side, by playing good football. It doesn't matter how talented they are. If you earn the spot, then you keep it. But look, again, time is running out. And he's really got to turn the corner quickly defensively. Again, no questions about his attack, but it's just the other side of the ball. What were you going to say?
He's a grabber. That's his problem in defense. Like, if you're somebody who makes bad reads, but you're good with contact at a club like ours, you should be in first grade with his attacking ability. If you're somebody who he doesn't put his shoulder into tackles. He doesn't get his body in front of opponents. He tries to grab people, and he needs to stop doing that. He's a big lad. If he had the same mindset to tackling as he has with running, he would be fine.
Yep. Well said. Absolutely. Next guy, Alex Lobb, also made his debut this year. Quite interesting. He was actually activated as a concussion sub. So some of these numbers might be skewed. But with that in mind, 3 games, 1 try, 7 runs on average for 55 metres with an average carry of 7.8 metres. No line breaks in those 3 games, but 1 tackle break. No offloads either. He put it away. A tackle efficiency percentage of, wait for it, 31%. He had 5 try causes and 6 line break causes in those 3 games and 2 errors. Retrospectively, for the Magpies, 10 games with 4 tries. He was kicking at 70% goal kicking accuracy. 13 runs in West Magpies, so he was quite busy with a average metres of 104, average carry of bang on 8 metres. He made 2 line breaks in those 10 games, 25 tackle breaks. He had 4 offloads, and his tackle efficiency percentage was much improved in New South Wales Cup at 81.5%. Look, a lot of people had big raps on the Lobster before he came into the system. I watched a fair amount of his tape, and I had a look over his stats. My biggest issues around Alex have always been defensively, similar to Josh Fellerty. Unfortunately, he proved me right when he played first grade. Although being a big body, he doesn't sort of have that enough speed to sort of break the line and scatter defenders, and that's reminiscent in his stats. He is absolutely elite under the high ball. We've never had a player like him that is as good as he is under the high ball, and he's a goal kicker. So, that's another string to his bow. I think Alex would have been an absolute gun winger in the early 2000s, like a Luke
or
Cavella.
90s.
Yeah, like a Luke Cavella or a Daryl Halligan, like a guy that could just pinch the ball for you in the air, score a try and kick a goal. But unfortunately, the role of the winger is so much different these days. And look, he might be one of these guys where, and again, Marshall's been full of praise for him. For going 1,000 miles at training and reminding him of Chris Lawrence, and that's great. And he might, take his licks from first grade this year and try and work on his game. But look, there was just some things that I saw that were sort of reminiscent of the fact that he's on a 2-year development deal, and there's a lot of developing to do. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I don't really have much to add. I kind of think Yeah, I don't really know what he could really do to get to the point where I'd be comfortable with him in first grade. And that's a
Mm.
problem because usually I can sort of pinpoint stuff. Like his strengths are there though. He just looks like a New South Wales Cup player, man. That's all I really have to say. Like a good luck to the lad. If I was if I was him, I'd probably be trying to do the dirty bulk and maybe move to a different position on the field or something because he's too slow to be a winger. Like he's got to be the slowest winger I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's up there. That is for sure. I mean, Corey Patterson, 2014, he might have been the slowest we've ever seen, but it was same club. So,
He wasn't a winger.
no, I'm kidding. Neither was Sidalecki that night either.
Still like, yeah,
Um,
what a player. The
oh,
English Super League legend.
yes, indeed. He's well loved over there. He was also the guy that was utilised as like what did he say again? The Tigers weren't good for welfare in like 2016 or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Remember he's one of the AU clients when they were trying to get back at the club for turf and farrier. Anywho, another one for the history books. Look, the Lobster, he's on a 2-year development deal. He's got one more year next year. Look, I hope that he improves and he has a good year. But look, I don't think regular first grade is in his future.
No, I don't either.
All right, Luke Laliti. Okay, all right. Made his debut this year, scored on debut. He had 5 games in first grade for 2 tries and 1 try assist. Yeah, he averaged 10 runs a game at 96 metres on average. So that's an average carry of 9.6 metres for a kid who was effectively a hobbit and was thrown into first grade the week after he turned 18. He had 4 line breaks in 5 games. Another thing not to be scoffed at, 15 tackle breaks. No offloads and a tackle efficiency percentage of 52%. 6 try causes, 6 line break causes, 6 errors, no penalties. Look, I'm not going to hold any of that against him. In New South Wales Cup, the numbers are considerably different, but that's because he was playing fullback. So 9 games, 1 try, 2 try assists. He was averaging 14 runs for 88 metres and an average carry of 6.2. This is why I'm saying you need to be mindful because he was playing fullback, probably just catching the ball and then getting tackled. He had one line break in those 9 games and 8 tackle breaks. He had 4 offloads and a tackle efficiency percentage of 64.5. I'm going to let you talk, Mac. I always talk first, and I know how much you like this bloke, so you can go first.
Yeah, I really do think Luke is superstar potential. Be nice if he grew a couple of inches, which he probably will because he's only 18, or he is only 18. He's only 18 until what, May next year. So I know you kind of think he might end up a fullback. I don't know. I just see him as a winger. I think like his skill set makes him uniquely qualified as a winger. Like I know that he's got a little bit of a passing game to him, but he's a battering ram. How often do you see like 18-year-old kids come into first grade and like look like he looked better in first grade than he has in New South Wales Cup. Like
Yeah,
that's
but he still looked comfortable in reserve grade. The first grade, he looked like he'd been there his whole life.
that's right. Yeah, like
Yeah.
he sort of just does not look like anything gets on top of him. He made some errors and bashed himself in the head and then comes back hard. And that's the thing I think that all of these sort of Campbelltown juniors bring to the club is because they're so used to winning, they don't like have moments in games when things go wrong and then just be like, oh, here we go again. Like, which, the other Tigers players seem to do. These boys just go, and then they just like get back on the horse and smash it. Mason does it, Galvin does it, Lalili does it. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like we got a good one. I feel like he'll play a lot. I do think he'll play a lot of first grade next year. Honestly, what do you think? Do you think that he's gonna? I don't think Skelton will. I think he'll actually end up higher than Skelton on the depth chart personally.
Further down the line, yeah. I think in the short term, probably not. While you say that he looked really comfortable in first grade, I thought that he might have been called upon a little bit too early. I think physically he's just not there yet. I'm hoping that he's still got a couple more inches to grow, as you said. And if he doesn't, then he needs to build out his tree trunks in a similar manner to the Great West Tigers winger Matthew Utai. So that's what I'm sort of hoping is in Luke's future. look, super classy player, known it from the outset. His acceleration and his explosiveness going into contact is unreal. Look, his defensive stats you can't hold against him whatsoever. And this is what I mean when he's been thrust in too early. He's never really ever defended in the back line. It's only in these last couple of years that he's been called upon to do that, and he's still learning how to make reads and to follow his center in. I don't think his contact's too bad, but it's just sorting those finer details out. But look, super talented player, quick learner. I think he might play a few more games in first grade next year. I just don't think he's ready to be first choice, and we've got to play long game with him. And you look at the concussions that he had, where, unfortunately he was just whacked around the heads because blokes weren't bending their back. I just err on the side of caution with him just for a little while longer. That's just me. But
yeah,
super talented player. Super talented player. All right, go on.
I love a hot take, man. I think he's going to be first. I think he would be on the wing in round one.
Okay.
I think Benji said that he would have picked him round one last year if he was 18. Benji obviously rates him enormously, so he must run rings around the other options at training. And Ben, we know what Benji's like. He is going to the youth. Like, his whole modus operandi is to build around this incredible youth talent. So, like, I think last week, if Benji looks at it and goes, he's better than Charlie Staines now, he's not going to hold his age against him. He's going to pick him. If he looks at me and goes, he's better than Skelton now, he's going to pick him. And I think he is better than them, or at least he shows that he is on the training paddock every week. And to me, I feel like that means that he'll get picked, and maybe he'll lose his spot because maybe he'll the week in, week out grind might get to him. But I think he'll get picked. I think he'll have every opportunity to be there straight away. On the flip side, he's most likely competing with Staines and Skelton because Taruva is probably going to play on the other wing unless Taruva plays in the centres. But
I think it's the latter.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I kind of feel like there's a pretty good chance that if Luke does what I think he does and actually plays himself into a first grade jersey and makes that problem, that we might see Skelton try it in the back row pretty quickly, considering depth issues in the back row. And he has played back row in rugby league. He started out at the Dogs in New South Wales Cup in the back row and got moved to the wing.
He was in the centres.
I think he played both.
Okay.
But he,
for the sake of your story, we'll say it was two.
I think he'd make a killer back row regardless of whether or not I'm right about that. He'd look at the size, the speed, the ball handling ability. I would like to see it at least once or twice before I'm convinced that it wouldn't work.
What's been our biggest issue this year?
Size in the back row would be beautiful.
What's been our biggest issue this year?
Our biggest issue has been yardage out of our own.
That's right.
I agree. I agree, but I think Taruva and if Luke progresses, I think that gets solved anyway.
Yeah, look, we can talk about what we want for 2025 maybe later. Look, I think Luke will play more first grade. Whether or not he's there round one remains to be seen. Mate, I hope you're right. He's a really, really good player, and if he can shoot up a couple extra inches and he can sort of put a few more kilos on, I'd be delighted to see it. He showed that he is absolutely a 250 game first grader.
He's an Australian schoolboy.
That's right, at age 17. I just think we might just need to be a little bit more patient with him. But at the same time, I'm not going to complain if he's there round one. He's not going to let anyone down, and he was sensational out of yardage. 9.6 meters on average per carry. That's impressive. Last one for the day, and then we'll get into current players at a later time. Unfortunately for everybody, I have to cook dinner. Solomon Fatape, 17 games in his debut season. I don't think anybody would have anticipated he would have played as many. 6 tries for 1 try assist. He was averaging 9 runs a game for an average amount of meters of 72. He was averaging 8 meters per carry. 10 line breaks in those 17 games and 31 tackle breaks. He had 4 offloads. But his biggest issues were without the ball in hand. He had a tackle efficiency percentage of 70%. He had 17 try causes, 27 line break causes in 17 games, and 14 errors. He also conceded 8 penalties. Look, the numbers don't look good from a defensive point of view, but the facts are these. Sol was signed over Christmas. He reported for duty in January, so therefore he had a shortened preseason, so he was probably underdone, and he actually looked underdone. If you look at his highlights in Queensland Cup, he's this very explosive guy with a big fend, and we didn't really see that in him until the back end of the year. So I'm not going to, straight away, I'm not going to say he was on a hiding to nothing, but, with a full preseason, he might have been better. Look, I think he's got a little bit of try-scoring ability. Again, he's not a guy that I would want playing 17 games. Does he have, the potential of being a solid depth player and playing 8 to 10 games a year? I think so. But look, the defensive side, it's just not good enough. To let in a try and concede nearly 2 line breaks every game just isn't befitting of an NRL player. And like Josh Folletti and Alex Lobb and Luke Laulii and all these other guys on the list, defense is where he's going to have to fix his game. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that the defense at the Tigers is the problem with all of these players. It can't be, you know what I mean? Like, it can't be that we just have a whole bunch of blokes that can't tackle. Like, that just makes no sense. Like, these blokes wouldn't have come up through the grades and, they could have, but geez, it'd be an unfortunate coincidence. It's got to be.
Yeah, possibly. Look, it is a club-wide issue. It's been a club-wide issue forever. The only time that we actually defended quite well by coincidence was the final series of 2005 and the seasons in 2010 and 2011. It didn't happen any other time other than that. So, yes, that needs to be fixed, of course. But I also need to look at the fact that these guys are a little bit undersized as well. And they need to take a leaf out of a few guys' book, that are a little bit more undersized in the league and look at how they, deal with the Joey Manus of the world and the Joey Swali'is and so forth. So that's something that Sol's going to have to look at through preseason and emulate, because if he doesn't, then, I don't think full-time contracts are going to be a constant for him.
Yeah, I actually think Fatape will be a good first grader. I have a sneaking suspicion. I think that there's just something about him. He's a bit of there's this type of center that you see that he looks like he's got that Stags kind of vibe. Like, he's not, there's a few different prototypes of center, and he's one of them. I think he's the sort of bloke who this next coming season will see a pretty strong developmental leap from in attack. It was like this time last year he was still a PT in freaking Morningside. Like, he's you got to give guys like this time. If we're saying Tim Johansson's gonna, go to another level with his first season in the Zurich, what's Solomon gonna do in his second off season in the Zurich? Like, especially considering he's a PT. Nah, that's good. But no, I like him, and I like your point. Like, he sort of had a bit of a rebirth at the end of the year, because he started the year in the centers and he was pretty good. Like, we were all like, there's something here, and then they played him on the wing and he was trash, and then they dropped him, and then you didn't see him for a while, and then he came back in the centers out of nowhere, and I don't think he performed very well in New South Wales Cup. If I remember correctly, I felt like he didn't really earn his call up, but then he came back and he was pretty good again. So it's clearly a center. So, I hope if anybody at the Tigers is listening, please don't put that man back on the wing. It's absurdity.
I think they obviously learned that pretty quickly. So, look, hopefully that lesson's been learned. But yeah, I agree with you. I think I recall that he hadn't really earned his call up. But look, he's obviously impressing the coaching staff. If he's not on the departures list, then I think he's staying around. So, with that in mind, we'll wait and see. Mac, part 1 of the backs wrap up. as part of our end of season review comes to a close. So to give everybody an idea and yourself an idea, we'll do the current players and anything else that comes out in the news in the next couple of days. On Friday, we'll obviously have our observations and we'll have some questions to finish. I've got some interesting ones to wrap up with. Anything else you want to touch on before we part ways, mate?
Just going to manifest Adam leaving. Adam Doueihi is leaving. He's gone to the Dragons.
Forget manifesting just Adam leaving. Like, I'm hoping for like one of the Couchman twins or both. Like, you know, that's what I'm hoping for here, or a Finau Latu or a Loco Junior.
Loco. Bring me the Loco. Oh
yeah, this is what we're going for here. That'd be nice.
Bring me Loco. Oh, me Loco. Coal chamber reference for those like boomers who are into new metal. Anyway, yeah, let's go. See you Friday.
You will, mate. Take care. Thanks, and shout out Pinch.
Pinch.
Thanks, guys. Bye.